COVID-19, the novel coronavirus, continues to impact our normalcy locally and globally. Thank you, subcontractors and small businesses, for investing in yourselves and BART. Please remain healthy and safe. Welcome to the pre-networking webinar for contract number 6M4706, Progressive Design Build of BART Headquarters. My name is Javier Pruitt-Hill. I am the program administrator for the BART Small Business Support Services Program, also known as SBSS. This webinar today is hosted by the SBSS program. The purpose of this webinar is to, one, provide an educational opportunity to understand the mechanics of the progressive design build delivery methodology. This is a novelty for BART and possibly for some of its subcontractors and small businesses. Two, understanding BART's equity programs. Three, learning tools to best communicate with potential prime progressive design builders. And four, learning about the pre-qualification process. At this moment, I'd like to also acknowledge some of the BART leadership who have joined us on this webinar. Thank you for your continued support. So this morning's webinar is 2 of 2 of the series. Yesterday evening, we hosted a webinar, and today this is the second. This information disseminated is identical and will be readily available for the public's review. Next slide, please. A couple of housekeeping items. So here's our agenda. We had Mr. Michael Reyes already give an overview of the Zoom meeting logistics and the platform. We'll have Mr. Marcus Gary provide an overview of the BART HQ project and progressive design build. We'll have Mr. Fei Liu give an overview of BART's equity programs. And then we'll have Miss Melinda Lee provide tips and tools on how to best communicate with a potential prime for this project. And then lastly, we'll have Miss Laura Brecher facilitate questions and answers. Next slide, thank you. I'd also like to acknowledge the Small Business Support Services team for coordination of this effort. We have Mr. Lehman Abrams, who is the project manager, Mr. Paul Pendergast, who is the pre-award lead, and his team includes Miss Laura Brecher, Mr. Michael Reyes, and Miss Melinda Lee, excuse me. And on the post-award side, we have Mr. Harry Overstreet, who leads those efforts. As you see here in front of you, there are some goals for the SBSS program. The purpose of the program is to increase the number of small businesses who win BART construction contracts. So it's very specific to BART construction. If you've done work with BART in the past, you're probably familiar with the earthquake safety program. We implemented this same type of program, but on a project level. Now what we're doing is expanding it more so to a program level. Next slide, please. There are 2 components of the Small Business Support Services program. We have the pre-award component and the post-award component. On the pre-award side, we will assist small businesses with certification assistance, constructing your bid for contracts, statements of qualification, building out your LinkedIn page. And on the post-award side, we help with post-award negotiations, processing your invoices, scheduling, safety plan and prep. And these are just a few items that we help with as far as technical assistance. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me directly or anyone on our team. That information will be provided at the end of this webinar. Next slide, please. So in addition to providing program, we also provide educational opportunities as well. So as mentioned, This is the second webinar of a series. So we wanted to ensure that all of our small businesses and subcontractors knew specifically how to work with potential primes on this very complex design build. And again, it's a novelty for us. Next slide, please. Another educational opportunity is learning about the current stimulus package that the federal government has developed. $2.2 trillion. It's a lot of money, and there's a lot of money that has also been allocated to support small businesses. It is imperative that we continue to support each other and support our small business community. So we brought to the table for this webinar Ms. Julie Clowes, who is the Director of the United States Small Business Administration, and Ms. Isabel Casillas, Director of the Office of the Small Business Advocate, Office of California Governor Gavin Newsom. And they will discuss how we can assess financial resources to help small businesses deal with the COVID-19 state of emergency. This webinar will take place Tuesday, April 7th, 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. Next slide, please. Here's our contact information. Please feel free to reach out to us for any type of support. So just a quick recap and in summation, the type of support that SBSS program provides, right? We provide pre and post technical assistance for those small businesses who want to do business with BART. 2, we're providing webinars for the Progressive Design Build for the 2150 project. And 3, also providing more educational opportunities as well and resources to help support small businesses.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you very much for attending today. I really do appreciate your time. Once upon a time, I just want to share a quick story that I also did in the industry working for small business. Used to work for a 3-person architectural firm. I also worked for a small minority construction firm. And I am very passionate about this outreach. You know, small businesses, I learned a lot working for the small businesses, and I really feel that it's helped me to get to where I am today. So I applaud you all for your efforts. And I'm very, very excited and very proud to say that JLL is equally passionate about this outreach. And on the slide that you see in front of me, Jessica Turner is my colleague at JLL, who is shown here, who leads our supplier diversity effort. And our supplier diversity program has a vision and mission that's shared right here on the screen. As you can see, our vision and mission, we're very much aligned with creating an inclusive environment, an inclusive procurement process to get the small business, to get the diverse suppliers involved in the work that we do at JLL. So as we go through these slides, I really would like for you all to kind of take away from the slides how you see yourselves fitting into the progressive design build process. Which will enable you to leverage your ability to get involved and to not only get involved here, but I also like to think about education as something that you can, that lasts beyond the project itself. It's more important, your development, your growth, your ability to impact this industry through this educational process. So I want you to think about long-term with this information. If we can go to the next slide. All right, so the contents. So I'm going to go through where we are now with the current project, go through a timeline, talk to you a little bit about project delivery methods, such as the traditional project delivery, and then get into what the differences is with the progressive design build approach, and talk a little bit about our benefits and some core features. Next slide. All right, so here's our building. It's it's a building that BART purchased. It's about 3 blocks away from the current headquarters in downtown Oakland. It's a 244,000 square foot space, 10 stories. The building itself has been renovated, but the shell has been touched, so it's a warm shell space. The floor plates have been gutted and cleared out. We expect that the interior improvements are going to run about $52 million overall project budget. The project is going to have a number of key elements. For example, a boardroom, a space for 1,300 some odd employees to work in their new headquarters, some rooftop features, and we can go to the next slide. And just kind of align yourselves around what sorts of scopes or what sort of trades would be interested in a project like this. It's going to be a complete interior improvement project. So we'll need design teams, we'll need demo, structural, we'll need people who are experts at, doors, frames, and hardware, or equipment related to this, to that trade, glazing, roofing, mechanical, electrical, plumbing trades. We're also going to be doing AV in the conference rooms, AV in the boardroom, IT upgrades, low voltage cabling, security, furniture, you name it. It's a number of different trades that are available on this project. We go to the next slide. Now let's kind of take a step back and look big picture at where we are now in the process and the timeline and the reason why we selected this particular delivery method. So in the yellow area on this on the bar, we show March and April selecting the progressive design build entity. That's essentially where we are right now, and the RFP is on the streets right now, and this is the reason why you're here learning about this project. Now, come May, we expect to give a notice to proceed to a progressive design build entity, and then at the end of our timeline, we show May 2021, we show a substantial completion. So essentially, we have 12 months to design and construct that facility, all 10 floors. Now, 12 months might seem like a lot of time to some, and 12 months, when you think about the design efforts, when you just think about the programming and the approvals and the permitting and then ordering of materials, that 12 months gets chopped into a very compact and compressed time frame. And so we wanted to think about something that would address that. Let's go to the next slide. Thanks. So the traditional delivery method that most are comfortable with or understand is the design bid build traditional schedule. And so with the design bid build project schedule, you see that there's a portion up front where the design teams get together, collaborate, pull together permit drawings. Then there's a period of time for bidding the work out, and then there's a construction period. With 12 months, that use of those 12 months might not be appropriate for what we want to achieve. And so really, as the slide says, it doesn't really align with our schedule objectives. So we decided to look at a different way of delivering the project. And if we can go to the next slide. So as you can see here on this slide, the traditional method has its pros and has its cons. A pro is it's very traditional. Everyone understands the process. It's simple. And so that's what has, kept that process alive. But, there are some issues with the process that we can see. And you can see right off from the other slide, with construction not starting until way after the design process has been in place, we lose a lot of the construction intelligence that could be used to influence the design decisions. So, you know, the traditional method is a lot slower. It's very linear in its thinking, but and as I said, you know, construction can't not really influence the design decisions. So you may design things that just have an issue with being able to deliver. I mean, how many times have you said, you know, why do they design things that cannot be built? Or maybe, had they let me in on this design process earlier, I would have recommended a different product or a different piece of equipment. And so, you know, I know that there's a statement out there that says if you keep doing things the same way and expect a different result, that's like the definition of insanity. So by taking what we've learned from the traditional approach and then applying it to how do we address that with new approaches, that's progress. Let's look to the next slide. Now, just talk a little bit about the organizational comparison. So with the traditional design build, bid build approach, there are three major team players: the owner, the designer, and the builder. All right. And when you think about these boxes, you can think about, you know, three different siloed entities, three different cultures, you know, so we're all working together as a team, but yet are we really working together as a team? Because a designer has their, you know, their cultural background. They would like to have you know, a wonderfully designed space. The builder has their cultural background. They want to be in a space that, you know, they want to be known for the building. They want to execute. They want to drive schedule. They want to, you know, get in and get out of the project. That in and of itself creates a conflict. And so in came design build, where we eliminate that cultural conflict. We bring the designer and the builder together. So now both of them, you know, the design builder is responsible for the design, is responsible for the delivery of the project, is responsible for the schedule. So and with the owner also being involved in that, in the success of the design builder, we have a more collaborative approach to delivering a project. And we can go to the next slide. Now, in comes the progressive design build delivery itself. So the progressive design build, we still have the design build collaboration, right? We still have the designer and the builder working together to collaborate and are responsible for the delivery of the project. But in this method, we're able to engage the design builder a lot sooner in the schedule. So essentially, right now, what we're doing is we're hiring a design builder, but we don't have a full design in place yet, okay? And what the progressive process, what it allows us to do is it allows us to progressively work through the design while we then bring in the design, I mean, the construction expertise to kind of lay out how we're going to schedule and execute the project. So as you see from this slide, you know, we have a design phase that will be going on. First, after the initial award of this design builder, we're going to award the rest of the design packages, and then we'll move into awarding different construction packages, demolition, and these are strictly, I want you to realize that the way that this is laid out is really going to be the design builder that's going to be awarded is really going to control the means and method that we get to the, you know, buying out all these trade packages. But this is to give you kind of an overview of how it can occur. The demolition, the structural, the drywall, the equipment, the building systems, these are all get purchased in increments, in packages. And what then can happen is we can be working on design, we can be working on construction, and we can be working on development of the overall project GMP, or the overall project price. So the 52 million that I talked about at the very beginning, that 52 million won't be realized until we actually end up purchasing all of the packages to the very end. Now you might ask then, how do we control costs with this particular buyout process? And if we go to the next slide. So under this progressive design build approach, we have, we have the owner and we have the design builder, both of them working together to develop an initial GMP or initial budget. And that's going to be the first, that will be the first objective once that progressive design builder is awarded in the project in May, will be to put together a programming package, which is a very conceptual design, to put together establish initial GMP. And what that initial GMP then does for us, it allows us to buy out the rest of the work in an intelligent way. So if the initial GMP comes out and we say, I know, Bart, you've talked about your budget being 52 million. We feel that, we can get this all done for 51.5, and I'm giving a very general, generalization here. And we're going to, as we buy out these packages, we're going to continue to compare back to our budget those package buyouts. And so if we go ahead in one buyout, then we have to come under in another buyout package. So we can decide, we can basically intelligently purchase and put our costs right in the areas that we really would want to invest in. Maybe a little bit more in the audiovisual aspect, and we want to invest a little bit less in maybe flooring or some other finish qualities. And so we're tracking it as we build to the final. We're tracking it against our initial price, and with all the goal that we're going to maintain schedule and we're going to maintain our budget. Go to the next slide. So now you can see, I want you to take a screenshot if you can of this page, but these are some benefits of this, of the progressive design build process. So, immediately we can engage a team right after RFP. We can get immediately into design phasing and pricing and budgeting. We've got the intelligence of a designer. We've got the experience and the intelligence of a builder all coming together in one time. So we can learn from past mistakes and of not having construction expertise on board early. That would help us eliminate constructability issues, will help us to eliminate anything around future change orders. We can address schedule concerns up front, because again, we can then divide up those 12 months to get us to that, to the finish line. We can buy out materials earlier. Another strong reason of bringing a builder on board is we can decide which long lead items we need to purchase early. And we can design things that we can afford. The target value design approach is mentioned in this, that's essentially it. We know how much we have, and we can target our design efforts to what we can afford. Move to the next slide. So another slide I'd like you to take a picture of is what small businesses should know about the progressive design build process. So the more experienced and the more informed you are about this process, the better, okay? Establishing a relationship with the progressive design builder is important to do now. You know best your trade. You know how to best influence the design decisions, to influence the schedule decisions, influence the budget decisions. All those are going to come together in one package to make this project very successful. And I want to also, as I highlighted in italics on a slide here, is I want to note that the progressive design building team is going to, they're going to choose their procurement strategy. Meaning, as the slide that I shared before, I showed maybe 10 packages. They may do 10, they may do more, they may do less. It's up to them. So, so just understand by aligning yourselves with these teams now will be a good thing, because then they can kind of plan ahead on how to integrate your trades and your scope into the work. Also, in terms of buyout of materials, the schedule is going to be very important for this design build. It's probably one of the top 3 things that they're going to be thinking about. And the more information they have from you as a subcontractor or as a designer to help inform them about, you know, what packages need to be purchased and lead times, the better, the stronger they are going to be as a deliverer of this project, and could, you know, benefit from your experience. We'll go to the next slide. So just to kind of wrap up some core features of the progressive design build process, you know, early collaboration is very important with the owner, with BART. It's important to get the teams on board as soon as possible. I want also everyone to understand that this is not a negotiation process. The equipment subcontractors are bought out. There is, go to the next slide. And the owners will participate in the selection of the subcontractors and the suppliers. And I want everyone to understand that the bidding is very transparent. That's another valuable aspect of this, is that you know, the progressive design builder is going to be a team member. That means that all proposals will be shared. Schedules, any detailed information about pricing is going to be shared, full transparency, and so that makes it a you know, it's got to be transparent in order for this collaboration to work. And we go to the next slide. So, small business community, I want to thank you very much. We thank you for your leadership and your interest in this project, and we're looking forward to working with you all. And I will pass it off to Mr. Feilu.
All right. All right. Thank you, Marcus. My name is Feilu. I'm with the BART's Office of Civil Rights. And it is my distinct pleasure to talk to you today about our 2 equity programs that are applicable to this project. But before I begin, I just wanted to give a little shout out to the small businesses that are on this webinar. Small businesses provide a significant contribution to the Bay Area's economic success. At BART in particular, small businesses are a vital component in delivering successful projects on time and on budget. With that in mind, this project is no different. BART needs your skills, your abilities, your ingenuity, and most of all, your participation. Thank you. Next slide, please. All right, so this is the non-federal small business program. How this program works is that I'll get to that in the next second, but this particular slide, the most important thing here is that the certification that we take from for the small business program comes from the California Department of General Services, DGS. There are a lot of small business certifications out there. We just wanted to make sure that you're aware that the one that we will accept for this project is coming from the Department of General Services. And it applies to construction contracts, procurement of goods, and services. Next slide, please. Okay, so on this particular project, we put a small business subcontractor participation goal for 30%. And essentially how this works is if the potential primes meet or exceed that percentage, they would be eligible for a preference, which is essentially a price reduction of up to 5% or capped at 150,000. Essentially, whatever they bid, if they hit that participation goal, we would give them a deduction of 150,000 for evaluation purposes only. The thing that we've updated with this particular project is we've taken their commitment, or whatever they commit to in terms of their small business subcontractor participation, and we applied it to the scoring of their proposal in total. Essentially, whatever they commit to is going to be applied through the rest of the project, and we believe that this is going to help small business participation heavily. Next slide, please. All right, the non-discrimination program for subcontracting. And this program's objective is to, I'm sorry, my camera is funky. This program's objective is to create a level playing field to compete for BART contracts by ensuring that prime proposers do not discriminate or give any firms a preference in their selection of subcontractors. BART ensures that primes do not discriminate by examining the selection of subconsultants. If a prime proposer lists minority or women businesses, MWBEs, that meet or exceed the availability of MBEs and WBE firms, then the prime has been determined to not have discriminated. However, if they do not meet those availability percentages, then we would have additional administrative procedures to ensure that they did not discriminate. The availability percentages and the additional steps that we would take if they do not meet them are in the RFP for this project. I highly recommend that you take a look at it. The certifications that we count for MBEs and WBEs come only from 2 databases, and that's something that I really want to stress here. It is from the list of certified minority and women firms that are on BART's website that go through a BART certification process. Also, we will also accept certified minority and women disadvantaged business enterprises from the CUCP. If that firm is on the DBE CUCP site and they have a designation of either a MBE or a WBE, we will take that as such. And it's important to stress here is that if they do have that designation, there's nothing else that they would need to do. And finally, firms seeking MWBE certification from BART are advised to submit their applications as soon as possible. We want to make sure that we get to every single application on time, and we understand that it's an important certification to have. Next slide, please. So here's an example of how the ND program applies to a construction contract of $5 million. The total subcontracted amount here is $1 million. You can see that on this construction contract, the MBE and WBE availabilities are listed at 18.2% for MBEs and 9.3% for WBEs. If the prime were to subcontract and hit both those availability percentages on this example contract, then they would be found to not have discriminated. If they did not meet these availability percentages, then additional administrative actions would take place. It's important to stress here that these are not goals. We think that these are availabilities for MBEs and WBEs. And again, if they don't hit them, there are actions that we will take to ensure that there is no discrimination. Next slide, please. And finally, here are additional resources for you to find out information about DGS's small business certification, additional information on how to get a DBE certification through CUCP, and the list of MBEs and WBEs that are on BART's website. And with that all done, I'm going to hand it off to Belinda.
Thank you, Faye. Welcome, small businesses. Hello. I have a question for you. How do companies with similar products or services set themselves apart? Is it even possible to do that? Amongst so many other companies, how do we set ourselves apart so that our competitors can see us? I used to work at a construction firm. They were relatively small at the time. And they brought in a term called lignap. Lignap is a French term. It's like when you go to a baker and you ask for a donut, and then the baker gives you coffee, just because, just to make your day. And so that term lignap was like the DNA of their company. Everyone knew it. It was a culture, and the clients knew it. And soon this strategy helped them to grow into a big business. So what makes your company unique? You have a trade, but you also have a uniqueness about you that we can bring out. And the sooner you do that, the more opportunities you will get. And I'm going to show you how to do that today. And before we get into the meat of the program, I want to give you a little bit about myself. I have over 15 years of strategic communication experience and a master's of arts in organizational psychology. I've helped tech firms, construction firms use psychology to meet business results. And then I started off with my own business. And I marketed myself as a presentation coach. And yes, there are lots of presentation coaches out there. And it was difficult for me to find jobs, to get clients. It was hard. How am I going to set myself apart? What makes me unique? I knew it was in there, and I continued to ask myself. And soon I developed my own proven process, trademarked it to help my clients move from speaking in fear to speaking in flow, so they can bring in more abundance and success for themselves. And with that one thing, I'm now fortunate enough to have facilitated workshops at Google, Facebook, and now with the Small Businesses Support Team. I'm sharing the story because I understand the importance of setting ourselves apart, especially as a small business. You got to find what makes you unique, and it's in there. We just got to develop it and nurture it and bring it out. And so that's what we're going to do today. Next slide. We're going to talk about the April 3rd, the big event. You're going to meet with the primes. You have 5 minutes to talk about your qualifications, experience, and what makes you unique. I'm going to give you tips to prepare. You have a couple days, and so let's get started. I'm going to show you where to do research, show you how to bring out your unique value, and then finally, how can a potential pitch go? I'm also going to demonstrate some techniques on how to say your pitch. You can have all the relevant, fabulous content, yet if you don't say it in a way that resonates and connects you to your client, and if they don't get a connection from you or get that sense of trust from you, then you can be losing out on some potential opportunities. Next slide. Your pitch logistics. The big day, potential primes, meeting with them on April 3rd, Friday. The SBs, all you are encouraged. We're going to give you instructions on how to schedule the 5 minutes with the primes. So this is your task. You're going to schedule those meetings, and we're going to give you some instructions later on the webinar. And so stay tuned for that. The meetings and how they're run, whether it's Zoom or telephone, is going to be up to the primes. So once you schedule your 5 minute with the primes, then they will give you instructions on whether they prefer Zoom or video or telephone. And then finally, Doodle. We're going to be setting up, you can have more opportunities to practice your pitch with me and Michael. And so we're going to be sending out a doodle for that. And so sign up for that. And because we're here to support you and because we want you to get that job. And so sign up for that to get individual practice. Next slide. The first thing you want to do when you're preparing to go talk to somebody, to an audience or speak to a client, you have to know your audience. In this case, these are the 3 potential primes that you'll be speaking to. BCCI Construction, Dome Construction, and Turner Construction. They're all big hitters. What are you going to do to prepare? Next slide. Thank goodness there's the internet. Go to their website. The information is all there. Look at their core values. The core values are important to companies. Understand what those are. You can go and check out their project history, know what type of projects they've completed. You might even find that you know people on the project site. The industry is not too big, and so you can find different ways to connect with them. All these pieces, these nuggets are valuable. Know their processes, how they execute the work. This helps you to feel engaged, be a part of the team, get ready to jump on board and add value by giving some potential solutions from your viewpoint. Finally, review the BART RFP. This is a contractual document. You want to know what you're getting yourself into. And also know what are the primes being held against. What are those criteria that they're going to be weighted against that you can help? What qualifications you have, what experiences you have, and be specific, because that type of information can help them win, help them increase their opportunities to win. Next slide. And as you're doing your research and gathering this information to prepare for your pitch, go to your strengths. Be organized about your information. I would have a sheet of paper for every prime. And as you gather information from their website, put it on a sheet. Reference your SOQ. You have lots of projects that you've been successful on. So pick out 3 projects, 3 key projects, and put them on the sheet of paper. And they might be the same projects for all the primes, but they may not be. There might be some that are more specific for an individual prime. So start documenting that and be organized. You only have 5 minutes. You want to gather the right information. Know your value proposition. This is what makes you unique. This is where you can stand out. Your value proposition, if you know that, always fulfill in your value proposition on every single project. Then they recognize you, they will remember you. And tell stories and examples, relevant examples of how you fulfilled on your value proposition. Then they can make the transition and build that bridge between you and your value proposition. And I'm actually going to show you how you can tell relevant stories and examples on how to do that in a couple slides. And finally, understand your value. Think of the challenges that they're going to come up with and they're going to come up against. So list 3 challenges for every single prime. They're going to be specific. They all have individual challenges. So if you can list 3 challenges and then your specific solution to them, then you are going to be more ready for your pitch. Next slide. And then finally, more elements of your pitch. Got to state your qualifications, licenses, certifications. Here are some examples: the C10 electrical, hazardous materials, capacity, your ability to scale up or scale down. These primes want to know that you are there with the right person at the right time. And so how have you done that in the past? Demonstrate that. You might even bring in a project, a document with your project staff the titles, the roles. Have that all ready. And finally, think about the different experiences that are relevant. Tenant improvement experience, even better. And also those lessons learned. Now that I've given you lots of different tips and information and where to gather all this wealth of experience, how are you going to distill it down to 5 minutes? Can be tough, but I have a solution and a flow that you could potentially follow. There's a lot of different ways to develop a pitch, but this is effective because you can give a little bit about yourself, but also engage with the client. And this is how we're going to do it. So go ahead and transition to the next slide. The flow and the elements of your pitch can go something like this. Who are you? Your name, your title, and your company. What do you do? Trade and certifications. What are those 3 key projects that you've referenced and pulled in? State the client, the contract value, and the results. And out of those 3, which one makes you unique? Tell a relevant, specific example out of that one. Because then you can illuminate what you do well and what makes you unique. For example, the construction firm, Linyap, that was what they did well. They did construction, but they also did Linyap. And so you have your craft and your trade, but you also have something unique about it. And so telling a story around it can bring it to life, bring your pitch to life. And so here are some questions that you can ask yourself to help you identify what makes you unique. Think of projects. If you want to be known as a company that is extremely responsive, think of the various projects that you've been extremely responsive. Think of unique characteristics that you're good at. Maybe you're really good at meeting deadlines, and you want to be known as a company that always meets deadlines no matter what. Then create relevant examples and stories around that. Maybe you want to have a project team that separates you from the rest because you're great at communication. Then come up with those examples, document that. And then finally, maybe some times where you went above and beyond. That contractor company had Linyap. What are the things that you can do that go above and beyond for your client? And tell relevant stories. And the reason why I keep saying stories is because it brings it to life and it brings your client into your worlds so that you can connect with your client. Facts, if you just state facts about your company, facts just tell your client who you are. Facts don't really sell. Facts tell, stories sell. And I'm going to show you and demonstrate with you how stories can bring the life into your pitch. Next slide. So to demonstrate this pitch, I'm going to do a role play, and I'm going to ask that Michael join me.
Hello, I'm ready.
My lovely assistant. Thank you, Michael. And Michael in this role play is going to be the prime, and I'm going to be the subcontractor, and I am Charles Stevens with long hair. And so, okay, here we go. We're going to demonstrate how this pitch can go. Ding, 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 ding.
Good afternoon. This is Michael.
Hey, Michael, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Hey, this is Charles. My name is Charles. I'm the founder of Stevens Drywall. I'm calling for the 5-minute meeting pitch scheduled.
Oh, great to hear. All right, sounds good. Let's go ahead. Let's rock and roll.
Wonderful. Thank you. So before we begin, I want to tell you a little bit about myself, and then I want to transition to asking you a couple questions so I could get to know you better. Does
Sounds
that
good.
work?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I've been doing drywall for mostly commercial and hotels for 9 years. I'm certified SB with a C9 drywall contractor license.
All right.
And with all this experience and the license that I have, I am pleased and proud that I have 3 key projects with great customer reviews, and I want to tell you about them.
All right, sounds good. Go ahead.
Okay, the first one is the Compton Hotel, $250,000 is the scope value. Offices of Westfield, $300,000. And then finally, the House of Steaks at $180,000. All of these projects completed on time, within budget, and with great customer reviews.
Amazing. Good to hear.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm pretty happy. I'm pleased myself. And we work hard, and we also want you to know that we are unique. Yes, we do drywall, but we also anticipate problems really well. And with our client at the Compton Hotel, I'll give you an example. The Compton Hotel, the contractor in front of us, ran into issues. They couldn't get the material on time that they needed to continue. So with our company, because we anticipate problems real well, we saw that coming. And so we quickly rounded up the team of experts that we needed to start on another area of the project. We ended up completing this project on time and even slightly under budget. So we are committed to also anticipating problems as best we can for you. How does that sound?
I like that. I like hearing the proactivity. That's really good. I like that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, we want to be proactive because we want to avoid these issues and challenges as much as we can. So I'm curious, I want to get to know you better. What are the biggest challenge, or what is that one big challenge that you've had with subs or with drywall specialists?
You know, Charles, I would say the biggest challenge or concerns that we have as primes would be like timely deliverables of submittals, schedules, schedule of values, anything that affects the project schedule overall and affects my commitment and communication to my client or the owner. So I would say those are my biggest concerns.
Yeah, I understand, Michael, and I don't want that for you. I know that that can cause a lot of burden with you and the owner. And because I understand that, we at our company have developed a daily routine, daily management plan where we track what we need to track in a timely manner, and we submit that to you in a timely manner. And that's my promise to you.
Oh, that's really good to hear, Charles. I like what I'm hearing. We should continue this.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, let's set a time. I know we're running out of time with this meeting, so I'd love to set up a call right now with you so that I can further hear more of your concerns, listen to some of your challenges, and offer the solutions that I have that I just want to help you with. And so, especially for the 2150 Webster project. So let's get the calendar out. I'd love to get your email and also your telephone number as well.
Good to go. I'll give you my information. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Great. Awesome. Thank you, Michael. There you go.
Welcome.
Oh, next slide. Thank you. That was the deep. Now we're going to do the debrief on the role play. What just happened there? Charles started off with, who are you? His name, the title, and the company. And then what do you do? Trade, certifications. And then he started to list 3 key projects, highlighted those with the clients, the value, and then even the results. So great customer reviews, completed on time and within budget. And then he moved in to highlight what makes Stevens Drywall unique. Yes, he does drywall, but he also anticipates problems. And so he demonstrated that by saying, we saw that coming. We rounded up that team of experts. And so now he's giving the relevant details to highlight how he does that, and thus continuing to engage with the client and letting the client know that, hey, I'm also going to commit as best as I can to anticipate your problems as well. Alternatively, Charles could have gone into the pitch and stated facts. Who are you? Trade and certifications, which are relevant, super important, 3 key projects, and also we're unique because we anticipate problems. The thing with just stating facts, the studies are that it just goes over people's heads. It's too many facts especially will go over people's heads. And like I said earlier, you can have great facts, but if you state them over and over again, the audience feels disengaged. They're not connected to you. They might be thinking, oh, when's the next sub coming? stories engage people. You are connected to that person feels, and that's building trust, really, because that person can see more of what you're doing. They can see it and they can experience it with you. And then you want to go into understanding the person across from you. What is that person's specific challenge? Because you might have an idea of what the challenges are as a whole, but again, this person in front of you might have their own specific challenge within your trade with a specific client that you want to ask and understand. And then because you're prepared, because you have thought through the challenges and have solutions, you are ready to answer that question. The whole part of the first 4 bullets didn't take too long. Then the next piece of this, answering the questions from your client, you can get more of a discussion here. And then finally, be proactive with your follow-up. Get the person's email address, their phone numbers, just continue to call and follow up and be of support as you're following up. Like in here, reviewing your concerns. I want to follow up with you so I can continue to review your concerns and demonstrate that you can add value. And if they don't call back, just continue to try. They might be really busy and just haven't had the opportunity to call you back. So I highly encourage that you continue to call using email, phone, and text. Next slide. And then finally, like I said earlier, facts just tell. How you say things are connection and trust, building trust. And so I want to encourage you to take a moment before you meet with the prime, just 5 minutes. People can feel when you're rushing in and out. So if you're jumping from meeting to meeting and not taking that moment to just sit still before your meeting, they can sense it. So I encourage you to take that moment, 5 minutes, to take a breath, gather yourself. You don't need all those thoughts about the other projects or the concerns of the other project right now, because you just want to be with your client. And remember, just slow down and finish your thoughts with breathing. Drown down those thoughts and be present with the prime. Listen and be engaged. Let them know that you're right there with them, because that, again, builds trust. And if it's video, I highly encourage you to turn on that camera and look at the prime. Like I am with this video. I'm looking because I want to engage. And then finally, it's about how you say it. Especially if you are somewhat monotone, raise your energy about 5, maybe even 10%. Maybe do some jumping jacks, whatever you need to do to raise that energy, because you want to demonstrate passion, conviction. The person across from you can also sense that passion and conviction, especially if you're on the phone. So raise that energy, get passionate. And finally, practice some more. This will help boost your confidence. And if you need some help, we are here to support you. I mentioned earlier, there's going to be a doodle going out to you over email. Sign up. Michael and I are available. We're here to support you. We believe in you and we want you to get that job. And so sign up, and we would love to give you the individual feedback that you need to get you ready for April 3rd. Thank you so much. And that's all I have. Next slide. And now we're going to move on to Laura with Q&A.
Okay, and really quick before we get into the Q&A, Michael's just going to talk a tiny bit about the pre-qualification form.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura. Just real quick here. This is Michael Reyes with the Small Business Support Services team. I'm going to talk about the pre-qualification. And see on my screen here, there's a graphic of the form on the right. But as it states here, BART invites our small, local, minority, women, disabled veteran, and LGBT certified businesses to actively participate in the tenant improvements on the BART headquarters project. The businesses wishing to participate on this procurement program is recommended to be pre-qualified. You need to be pre-qualified, and I can't stress that anymore. I want everyone here, all the attendees, to prioritize the pre-qualification process in a big way. This should be your biggest takeaway from today's webinar, and don't skip this and don't miss this critical step. When it comes to this pre-qualification form, just know that there are going to be some questions, three big questions that you should prepare and respond to and complete accurately. And one of those would be your business name and your contact information. Make sure that's up to speed, no errors. The next one is your license, your contractor's license number. Make sure that your license is good. It's not suspended. Know the status of your license. And also, another question that you'll be asked is if you've ever been debarred in any way. So be prepared to have that information on hand. And also confirm your certifications. If you have any of the certifications I just mentioned above, confirm that your certification is active and it's official. And those will be found again on that form that you see on the right. So I do recommend that during the course of this webinar, or the remaining course, go ahead and take photos of this with your phone and leverage the hosts, the speakers, during this Q&A session that's going to follow. But I really appreciate your time today. I'm going to hand this back over to Laura for our Q&A session. Thank you, Laura.
All right, thanks everyone. So I hope you're all really enjoying the workshop. So now is your time to ask any questions. And just as Michael talked about in the beginning, all you need to do is go to the bottom of your screen to the little chat window that shows the little speaker bubble, and you can click on that and ask your questions. And I'm going to ask all of our presenters today, thank you so much for doing such a great job. If you could please unmute yourselves so that you can be ready to ask any questions. So again, to the audience, please ask any questions you might have. And please, if you're not a presenter, keep yourself on mute. I also want to give a little disclaimer that I am at home with my 4-year-old and 2-year-old. So you may hear some screaming in the background while I'm doing this. We're balancing everything as best we can. So we'll just wait here for a couple of questions to come in. Okay, so it looks like, Faye, we have a question for you. Can BART or the SBSS program help small businesses if they need to get certified as an SBE or DBE?
Absolutely. That is one of the key elements of the SBSS program, to help firms get certifications that are applicable to the particular project that they want to work on. If there is additional comment on this particular question from here, that is definitely welcome.
Great.
Absolutely correct, Faye. Thank you.
While we're waiting on questions, Marcus, is there anything that you may have forgot to cover, or thinking of a question we might have had last night that maybe this group might want to have answered, like the kinds of contractors you're looking for, how different contractors will bid, that kind of thing?
So yes, so just to clarify, we haven't moved into the design phase yet, so no one has been. So you can think about this as the playing field is wide open. No one has been selected. The design builders right now are putting together their packages for the prime effort, but after that they're going to move into selecting all the trade packages. So if you're thinking like I do drywall, I do concrete, I do whatever, metal, miscellaneous metal, and where do I fit into the schedule? None of this has been developed and designed yet, so you're totally open and you're totally able to fit in. Just as I mentioned before, make sure that you make a connection with the primes, so that they know that you're out there, so that they know when we're asking them to make sure that they've got small business support on their bids, that they can pull your name up as a potential bidder for the project.
Excellent. We do have a question about, is this webinar being recorded? And the answer is yes, this webinar is being recorded and we will make it available to you. We also have sent everybody a PDF version of the PowerPoint presentation. So it's all in your inboxes if you signed up and registered for the workshop. So that's a nice little present that will be awaiting you when you get off of our Zoom chat. Other questions? I have a question. Okay, so it can go for either Marcus or Melinda. So maybe one can start and the other can fill in the blanks. I know that this coming Friday, it's a time to talk with potential primes, but are small businesses allowed to talk with the potential primes throughout the coming year, since some of the trade packages seem to be rolling out over the next 12 months?
Yeah, I can jump in there. So that's definitely a possibility. And, you know, I always like to think that, you know, any effort that you're putting in right now don't think that the effort that you're putting in now is just for business on the BART project. You definitely want to, now that you understand more about the progressive design build, you know, delivery method, you want to make sure that you've established relationship with these primes if you haven't already, so that they know and you can continue to do work with them on other projects in the future. So that's the key.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I'd say also with subs too, it's always good to have in your back pocket a list of people that you know that you can trust.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for all the presenters, but first let me ask this one. Will there be networking events in the near future that I can attend?
Good question. Yes, we actually, we were about to have one right before the whole COVID-19 started, and it had to get postponed. So I believe so. Michael, do you have some specifics too to add to that?
Yeah, you know, what I think the best way to look at this is when it comes to design build, if a sub or any contractor has never been involved with a design build project, a big takeaway is to understand that design build is actually a community. It's a group of common folks that are active as contractors, subcontractors. If you look at this from a community standpoint, then the partnerships can develop organically. So, but yes, in terms of networking and meetups, those are always going to be about, but make sure you connect with that design build community in the way that you want it to happen for yourself.
Right.
For Michael or Javier, is there a deadline to pre-qualify for this project?
I can take that, Melinda. No, there is no deadline. We're going to do rolling pre-qualifications throughout the duration of this project.
Great.
If I can add to that though, if for some reason you're not pre-qualified and your approach, just understand per the contract documents, you're going to have to go to the protocol provided by BART, but through the contractor. Am I right, Marcus?
The pre-qualification process, yes, yeah, everything is going to be going through the contractor.
We have a question. How do we access some of the small business support services that were listed at the beginning of this webinar?
I can take that question as well. Go ahead. Thank you, Joe, for your question. At the end of this webinar, we'll have contact information for myself and for Paul. In addition, the SBSS team will send a communication out with all of the available resources.
Fantastic. For Marcus, is the subcontractor selection process by the potential primes based only on lowest bid, or is it based on best value?
So it could be either. Definitely, it could be either. We know that lowest bid doesn't always mean the best price. It doesn't always mean that you have a complete package. So every price proposal is going to be vetted for you know, those two requirements, whether it's it's a responsive number. So, and I think it also is going to depend on what sort of trade. It's going to be a balance. So don't be concerned about that. I don't want to drive also the point that, we're not going to be focused on price, because it is about value. So, but just focus on, putting together a quality number that is comprehensive and something that you can stand behind. I also wanted to respond back to another point about pre-qualification. I just want to make sure it's also understood that the design builders are not going to necessarily be pre-qualifying subcontractors. I mean, there may be a level of qualification like insurance, maybe a level of, I'm not sure what the prime might throw into the mix, but so, we really expect everyone to qualify. If you have a business and you follow the ways that mentioned on this presentation, that you'll be available to participate in the project. So read the RFP, understand the insurance requirements, understand the requirements that we're asking from the prime, and then if you have any other questions, make sure you get your questions in, so we can respond to in an addendum.
Great. Knowing that the trade packages will be rolling out in a sequence over the year, how do we best stay tuned to make sure we don't miss a trade package that is relevant to our business?
So the most important, we want you to establish relationships with the primes now so that you understand how they're thinking about scheduling out the work. And then when whoever the prime that is selected, they're going to really own the schedule. And so you're going to want to make sure that you are, again, connected with them so you know what the rollout of those trade packages is going to be. Right now, it hasn't been determined yet. So it's a very open arena.
Right. So let me ask a question of each of the presenters. Could each presenter name your top 3 takeaways from this workshop? And we could start with you, Marcus.
Takeaway would be understanding the buyout process through the progressive buyout. Just understanding that it's something that is in a step fashion. Another takeaway is understanding the importance of having learned from the old delivery method, the traditional approach where, the construction experience doesn't really come in and support good design decisions. And so your expertise in doing your trade is really going to be beneficial to a prime. And then other than that, takeaway would just be, I always promote education. If being a part of this, learning as much as you can about the BART system and the support services, take advantage of all these opportunities that are in front of you, because you don't know whether or not the material is going to benefit you. You don't know if making a connection with someone involved in this, increasing your network is going to help bring you benefit. You just have to maintain optimism and understanding that you're building your business, and who knows what is going to bring your next opportunity.
Great. Faye, how about you?
I was just jotting down my points and you got right to me, huh?
I can go.
No, I got it.
Okay.
So, of the 3 that I can think of, I just want to reiterate, the main point is BART's going to need small business participation to be successful on this project, without a doubt. We have established a small business participation goal of 30%. Without small businesses, there's no way that's going to happen. So please, we need your participation. 2, know your certifications. one thing that people tell me or have advised me is that, you know, when you have a certification, you should try to, or when you're trying to get a certification, you should get it before you need it. In this particular situation, there is a series of release. So you want to get ahead of the curve. If you think you are missing a certain certification, get it now. You never know when you'll need it. And the last one is, yeah, I think that was all three of mine. Thank you.
Oh, great. Melinda, you want to jump in?
Yeah, so I would say the first one is do your homework, do your research, understand that person in front of you, and do as much research as you can with the time that we have, so you know the audience, you know that prime in front of you, their specific challenges. So do that research. Number two is create a pitch that's compelling. Create a pitch that states your qualifications, your experience, and what makes you unique. Really highlight your unique value. And three is know how you're saying it. Are you coming in disconnected, really just trying to get through the thing? Or are you really there to build trust with that client? That client across from you wants to know that they can trust that you can do the job. And so say your pitch authentically, genuinely, and with the confidence to allow that the client across from you can believe and trust in you. So those are the how. Those are the three things. Do your research, create a compelling pitch, and understand how you're saying things.
Javier, do you have anything to add to those?
The Melinda statements, no. I think she did a wonderful job with that. Three of my takeaways, though, Laura. One is just I'm happy that the BART community and the Small Business Support Services Program is being very proactive in supporting small businesses during these trying times. I would say two is knowing that we have a support services program that will provide not only technical assistance on the pre-award and post-award side, but also provide educational opportunities as it pertains to the progressive design build for this specific project, and also understanding what resources are available to those small businesses who are impacted by the novel virus. And lastly, just continue to support each other, continue to reach out and inquire on ways that we can help small businesses during these times.
Excellent. I have two last questions. So the first one does pertain to dealing with the virus, which is, do you anticipate any supply chain issues due to the virus, and how might this impact the schedule, which is pretty aggressive?
Okay, I can answer that. So do we anticipate? Yes. I mean, we always have to recognize and list that as a risk. It could very well be an issue. The fact that we're in design is probably a good thing. I don't want to say that we're out of it, but we have some time that we're going to be doing some design work. And our design teams are still going to be able to work and keep things moving, but it is something that is a risk that we have to note. And of course, we'll be looking to the primes to help educate us with that. So if you have information that you need to share with the prime, that might make your might make your credibility just go up in their books in terms of that information. So we're looking for support.
Okay, I have one last question, which is a two-parter. So the question is, will there be one potential prime selected, or will BART select more than one prime? And also, will the design be complete enough where subcontractors can provide accurate bids?
So there will be one prime, and that prime is going to be a a collaboration between a general contractor and an architectural firm. And the design, at this moment, there is no design. So there won't be a design for, a complete design for probably a couple of months. And so, this is, the unique nature of this is that we're really awarding a package to an entity without there being a design. And the reason why we selected the progressive design build approach is that you basically select based on, a limited set of requirements, the general contractor's supervision, the general contractor's markup, and then their cost to put together a programming package or a conceptual design. So we're selecting a group based on that, and then some other requirements, their technical abilities and their ability to, their experience. So it's not just that alone, but the main design is going to come once we bring the team on board.
Great. Okay, well, we're
May
going to.
Can I add to that,
Sorry.
Laura,
Yes,
please?
go ahead, please.
And Michael, you can feel free to jump in. And Marcus, this is, I guess, a follow-up for you as well. We want to also provide trade package information to those subcontractors. When do you think the prime will be ready to kind of move forward with providing that information?
We're going to do a kickoff. We'll do like, a kickoff with the awarded prime. And at that'll be a good time for us, like, May, whenever we finally, get the approval to proceed with going a specific direction. We'll do a kickoff meeting, and we can just lay out those requirements. We can get that information, put that right on the table right then. So we're definitely in contact.
I think Marcus is right, because that really, that'll speak a lot on what the prime plans to self-perform, right, Marcus? They can balance that whole need aspect of it.
Right.
Right. Thank you both. And for those subcontractors and small businesses that are participating in the webinar, the Small Business Support Services Program will do our best to ensure that we're pushing that trade package information out as soon as possible.
Excellent. Great. Well, we're going to start wrapping it up here. So I really want everybody to give a huge shout out to our presenters today. Thank you, Javier. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Faye. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you, Melinda. Everybody is so great. I know that we have lots more questions coming. So Michael's going to wrap it up with just a little bit more information of how you can get in contact with us, with the primes, and also about upcoming workshops. So I'll let Michael take it away, but thank you all so much for attending, and you will be getting some follow-up information.
Good to go. Thanks, Laura. So on your screen here, you see that we do have an April 7th event. You want to make sure you pencil that into your calendars, bookmark that. The Small Business Support Services Program is titled Accessing Financial Resources to Help Small Businesses Deal with the COVID-19 State of Emergency. You might have heard Javier mention that earlier, but that is on Tuesday, April 7th. It's a webinar from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. Make sure you have that on calendar. And also, I know one of the questions came up earlier, and I want to share the screen right here. This is the potential prime RSVP information. So you might want to screenshot this right now or take a picture of it with your phone. But this is the information that you're going to need in order to reach out to the folks at each of these companies. And besides that, we also have, I want to share with everyone the Small Business Support Service Team contact information. So for any questions or information that you need, in addition to what you heard today, feel free to reach out to the web address, the email addresses that you see here, the phone numbers. But more importantly, you'll see Javier's information here, as well as Paul Pendergast. So make sure you have that in your Google Keep or wherever you keep your information. But we're really excited. It was a great showing today. The small business community is definitely leading the pack. So reach out to us, gather as much information, book your time with Melinda and myself. If you need coaching, reach out to Paul or Marcus, we'll make sure that you guys are as informed as much as possible to prepare you for this big project. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for the speakers and the host. You guys have a great day.
Thank you.
All right, thanks
All right,
everyone.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
We'll see you on the 7th.
All
Stay
right.
healthy.
Thank you.